special fabric with sports fabric also would go function into it. So by mapping this, also you can see normally how these things are translated in the manufacturing system. So very much if you have a list selection and form a little bit here on material, color, shape, this is a typical modular product design. The company thinks in really modular product designs, they normally can provide in the configurator the sets, and it's mainly on fit and function. On fit and function. Here, this is more on flexible manufacturing system like digital printing, for example, or 3D printing, where I don't really need a modular design, as it's not a bill of material product, but I have more flexibility. And just for the numbers here, so we saw that only 4% of the 500 companies really went into pure function customization. The majority is only offering aesthetic design. And then we have some, like these are all the shirt companies and custom clothing they have made to measure, so the fit dimension. But you see already here the majority of the companies is in the aesthetic customization field. And then we saw a little bit here how it is presented. So the more you go down here, we find the more infinite the solution space is. That you really could have, because of a parametric design, not just bill of material components, but really customize the product. And so 2 observations from this. If there's one of you in the company who want to open a customization company, well, on the one hand side we could say don't go into aesthetic design. It's totally crowded. Go into functional. This is what I say for many years. And we have some of the data which we are still getting. It's very difficult to get success data. But our data indicate that companies that really customize on all 3 dimensions, fit or function and aesthetic design, but not just aesthetic design alone, are more successful than companies that just customize on one of these dimensions. And in the moment, everyone is just offering on aesthetic design. However, we also could say, well, perhaps these companies are more clever as they know exactly what the market wants. Perhaps the people are not interested in customizing functionality or fit. They are really interested in self-impression and so on. So you can interpret it from both ways, and I don't know the ultimate answer here. In the configurators, interestingly, the majority of the configurators are still really following a parameter-based approach versus a need-based approach, meaning a parameter approach is where you as a customer get all the options, have to make the choices. While a need-based configurator is like mimicking a good salesperson. So a need-based configurator would not ask you about your product options, but would ask you how would you like to look. And then you say, I want to look great, they would translate great into a design that would meet your body type and hairstyle and so on. This is also has been defined by a lot of empirical research that this is a better configurator, but no one is doing it in practice. What we also found in this study, and this has been found before, that really customer satisfaction in choice navigation is very much driven by the process experience. So really it's important how you design the configurator, and for here I have some suggestions for the people from the shirt configurator. As I think they were very great engineers, but they should have read some marketing papers. Well, it was, I think they can approve there, we can discuss with them tomorrow, as it was very technical, very parameter based, and not really some elements of enjoyment into it. And so what we found there, and what we know from the literature, that really process experience is driven by usability, inspiration, that you get something on the help function, visualization, and so on. And from the data we really found that these elements, these design parameters of a customization load on this process satisfaction and explain to a large extent overall customer satisfaction. I think I don't have to explain these things in detail, but again here, you see, in general, these are all things what the literature says in experiments we have to have, like design inspirations by companies, suggestions, design inspiration by other customers, suggestions by customers. But even this, only 40% of the companies have it. Here, where we have high-end A+ journals saying you need this, no one is doing it in practice. So there's a big gap. We see it with others. Nice papers in Journal of Marketing saying you should integrate mass customization with social media, like what Adidas did. Not many companies are doing it. Product help. Also, not really much. 20% only really explain you about the product features of these. Pricing, a lot of literature that you should have modular pricing. Well, very few use it. Fulfillment information. Only 50% really tell you about the delivery time and give you information where your order is, and so on. Options for express, country, etc. Process help. There's been at least 5 PhD studies that really looked into how in these helping people with the navigation process. It's the core of configuration. And we know a lot from Cipriano's research and others how to really do it on a technical way, design the rules and so on. And so we know that this is important. I think we also know how to do it. And here, well, 73% of the companies even don't offer a save button. That you can't save your configuration in between. Which is probably the most easiest way. Visualization, 35% no visualization at all. At least 55 instantly. All the new things really almost not available there. And we could continue. So we could say on the one hand side, all these companies are stupid. They just don't listen. They don't come to our conferences. Where are they? But perhaps they're also much more clever. Perhaps we also do all research what customers are not interested in. And perhaps all these managers from their intuition know that no one needs all this complicated functionality. Perhaps customers are just satisfied with the easy side. Perhaps even if a configurator, what we as experts say, oh, all this is missing, perhaps most consumers don't care. And say, well, this was a great experience. But I think here, it's a fascinating field to really study this theory-practice gap. As most of the research on this has been done in experiments. As all the marketing researchers, we do the same. We just set up an experiment in the lab. It's so easy, cheap, very replicable. You get students as test subjects and you get whatever you want. And this is what you publish in the top journals. However, it may be that this is a great way to really study this, the gap from both sides. And I think probably the truth is somewhere in the middle. On the first hand, I think really as researchers have to do a better job to educate companies about these basics of the research. But on the other side, perhaps we also have to have a more open mind that don't to make things overcomplicated and think of one nice additional technical feature here or there, but perhaps it is really not the configurator but other elements of a mass customization system that really make this more. If you want the study, write to Dominic, he will send you the full study, and he gave me the slide with 50% discount, but if you say you're a pure student, he probably will give you 100% discount. Okay, so that was on navigation, on the choice navigation, and the third capacity or capability is the solution-based definition, really defining what should be in the configurator. And let me go over this quickly. And we'll come to this, I think tomorrow will be the day that is focused on co-creation. And I think this is the overlap between this co-creation research and mass customization research, which on the one hand side has nothing to do with each other. So it's somehow strange that in this conference and also others, we mix mass customization and open innovation. They're really two totally different things. But here's the thing, but somehow the same people are interested in it. But here it is where it's mixing, as you can use these open innovation and co-creation techniques in a good way to design a solution space for mass customization. Okay, how I'm doing for time? No. We have more and you all want coffee and so on. Let me, 12. Oh, okay.
Please, not be precise, otherwise I will be in problem.
No. Okay, but I have like 5 minutes. Okay, so these capabilities, and we knew, and this is what we shared already in San Francisco, for a long while, we wrote in our Sloan paper, we said it's additive. So our assumption for a long time was that for companies you can build these capabilities step by step. So first, let's say you build really a good solution space capability, you enter the market, and then later on you add robust processes and great configuration toolkit. And in a model, an empirical model, it would like this, that all these capabilities individually would load on financial and market success. In these 120 companies where we have the benchmarking data, when we tested it, well, nothing worked. And we really had to but reject our hypothesis. So it seems not to be really an additive view, and then that's a nice thing if you're an empirical researcher, you just draw a new model, and you play around with the data, and then if you say, no, it's a complementarity, so these individual capabilities are not loading directly on its financial success or market success, but there is a meta capability in between that we call mass customization capability. As always, a nice thing with structural equation models and meta capabilities, you don't really have to know what it is, but the data works and then you can make a theory out of it, what it is. But it's not so simple. But in general, what we found here, you really have very nice explanations of success. If you say, no, there is a meta capability of a company that is formed by a capability of a company to understand, really to balance and build these 3 capabilities simultaneously. So it's not sequentially, but to do this simultaneously. And so, of course, few words of caution, this model was pure B2C. We are in the moment replicating it with 2 PhD studies that replicate the studies in B2B. This is a sample of about 350 B2B companies. But in B2C, it seems we always have to remember that many companies are really young in the sample, and this is, if you talk about capabilities, if you have a very young sample of companies, it's always a little bit tricky. Nevertheless, to explain it here, had this in San Francisco. It's a nice story of why you have to do it really simultaneously and not sequentially. You may know My Muesli, which I have no idea what it is, probably trillions or more, possibly muesli variations, Veokas cereal, and so really started with a solution space. A solution space for muesli is very easy. As well, you know what goes into cereals, and actually these are the 2 founders, and they started the company in their student kitchen, as one of them don't like raisins in the muesli. But he don't want to have a muesli all without raisins, he just wanted to have a muesli with a little bit of raisins. Well, you can't buy it, you only can buy muesli with much of raisins or no raisins. And so he came up with the idea of customizing it, and all the product development for this, well, you can do in your student kitchen. And there's a given set of ingredients, and it's very easy to experiment with this. These were some of the first market research studies when they started to grow. And then they also really worked on choice navigation, as they realized, well, to know what goes into muesli is rather easy, but how to present a food product on the internet is tricky, as you can't simulate taste, or you can simulate taste, but much more difficult. So you really spend a lot of effort into this configuration tool. And it worked quite well, so we were really good in choice navigation. And even experimented with stores. That you say, well, perhaps if we can't simulate this taste, we have to go to some supermarkets, but this is not where you buy the product, this is just where you learn about the product. So it's like a customer education center, and then later customers still should go to the internet to order. So they really spend a lot of effort here. But they totally forgot the robust processes. When the company was growing and they had really more and more success, yeah, they had a big problem. This is how the manufacturing looked like. Well, it's a lot of ingredients, but if you're a manufacturing guy, this is not really how a food company should look like. And always when the media were reporting about it, and they got a spike in sales, they sold out. And they just thought, oh, muesli, it's so easy. We just need cheap labor, and they mix together with a scale, you know, muesli ingredients. But this is very difficult to scale up if you have a TV report and you get 1,000 times more orders at a day. And this can happen. So they hired this serious guy who was a manufacturing guy, and then after about 10 years invested in a huge shop floor, and it's the most advanced, it's a nice YouTube video, fully automatic muesli mixer. So this now can mix 72 ingredients in lot sizes of 1. It's, yeah, best of German engineering. I don't know if you really need it as sophisticated, but it really worked. And with this now finally, they really could connect it, and now they're really not just selling products, but they're also becoming profitable. And now they can fulfill all these orders complementary. Okay, I go over this. So I think I gave you some ideas. And I think we have, at the state where we are now, we really know a lot about mass customization. And after this conference, we will even know more about it. There's great research in the papers. But like 2 or 3 things. I think we really should think of all this product-focused research, and I'm also doing it not yet in a scale how I'm now saying it. We should really try to bring it to other domains. And I think with healthcare, it's very, very promising. And perhaps also more, well, giving us higher satisfaction. Instead of helping people to design a better t-shirt, perhaps we help people to live a better life. And perhaps this is more rewarding on the long run anyway. The second is, we should really care about really communicating more with practice of what we are doing, and really perhaps also matching a little bit instead of doing another experiment, as it's so easy to add a potential element to a configurator toolkit or whatever, but really see how it matters in real life practice. And but certainly, I think it's still a great way where we are just at the beginning, even after 15 years, as now the market is really growing, the big companies are coming to it, some of the smaller ones are getting more stable. But I think probably still in 20 years we will be here and talking about the same things, but hopefully they are on a higher level. Okay, so we learned the many heterogeneities, ways to profit from it. And this is, I put in because of Robert, so you have to blame him. As he said, on the very beginning of my presentations, like 10 years, you saw one only with pictures. And I used to have this picture, sorry, it's getting a little bit rowdy at the end, but about that everyone wants customization. So, and I used these pictures in the former time to illustrate the value of customization. But then, this was theory. And a practitioner colleague tested this in real life. But if you offer customization in real life, well, sometimes it is not delivering. So for sometimes, so I think this is also should remind us what is the real degree of customization.
It was predictable.
Is it really where we should start with customization? And in general, really, how do we define it? I think we really have to customize the definition and the value proposition for customization for different kind of businesses. For the practitioners here, what is really, how do these 3 capabilities translate to a specific kind of business or industry? How does it fit into it? We really think more about how to make it scalable, So what would happen with our shirt manufacturer if they would get 10,000 orders a day? Then only they do real mass customization. Are they able to do this? And in the end, what is really unique about it? If we have 180 shirt customizers, what is special about the 181st thing? Where are they different? Okay, with this, I hope was some food for thought. Really looking forward to the discussion. And I think, as you said, Zoran, it's great that it's not such a big event, but a smaller one will be here until the very end. I'm really looking forward for the discussions with you on the next days. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Maybe we can have time for one or two questions for discussion. If do you have a question to Frank?
Hi, I'm quite interested to the thing you mentioned about the customization 500, and you showed all the very interesting statistics. And I'm just wondering, do you know the sample size for that?
Yeah, 500. This is why it's called MCP-500.
And then in terms of all different companies, or...
Yeah, I will give you the presentation. There were some of the slides I skipped as it was much too small.
Okay.
I will give it to you and then you can look it up, as I don't know it all by heart. But in majority all B2C companies and most of them still startups. I think of the 500 there are only 40 which are big global brands. The remaining are startups.
And also, in terms of the social data, I know you were talking about more tomorrow. I'm just quite interested because one slide is talking about when you ask people whether they want to show or share with a friend about the decision, and the majority of people said no.
No, they were not saying no. Most companies were not even offering the option.
Oh, there's no.
They would have, but I think Paul can say more about it. It's just in the so say hello, Paul. So Paul he did a study on also the social media usage, and so he can share more about this tomorrow. Or I don't know if he will or later in the break. Exactly.
Thank you.
Very interesting, Frank, as always, and we as an audience are always getting some news when you present. Even we have seen this before, some of it before. It's very interesting. I'm focusing on the My Muesli, and it's a very interesting case. After 10 years on the shop floor, mixing all these ingredients. When did this company or whoever was helping them with new machinery, when do they recognize that it was the process of mixing that actually was the damper of the They were business students. The founders are marketing students, 2 business students, 1 law student. And they don't have really operations background. And we were very much focusing on growing the company, and growing for them means adding another factory with human labor. They had 3 factories. But then, and this is also one of the interesting points, it really turned out that My Muesli, which they never thought of, became a supermarket brand. So 55% of their muesli is standard. It's pre-configured, sold as a normal cereal in a supermarket. And they just use the My Muesli to build a brand and enter a market which is very mature. And so by going both in the standard thing, where they need capacity, and really think it is not costing to just add another human labor factory, they got into this and said, well, we really have to think, can it be done with machinery? But also these mixing equipment is totally custom built. So you can't buy a custom cereal mixing machine with so many, different ingredients on the market. And I think it's really as they hired the senior guy to run the manufacturing, and he was coming from mass production. And so he analyzed it for 1 year and said, well, if we want to continue to grow, and really now we are going in the business to doing business not just with consumers, but with big supermarket chains. We need stable and very fast fulfillment. And then they got additional money and invested in this. So it's still which is probably good for all the manufacturing guys here. It's still that manufacturing matters a lot in mass customization, like in these by muesli. And also perhaps we should reinvent somehow, as this is also somehow at the beginning of our conferences, like in Hong Kong, the first one, we were 70% engineers. So last year in San Francisco, we were 5% engineers. From, not from your basic education, but from the schools, the faculties you come from. So somehow I think in the engineering department, they tick to say, oh, mass customization is so old. But I think it's not true, and probably have to bring this also together. Okay, I think we should.
Maybe.
Okay, one more.
About the case muesli, I have a question about, because you showed a strange number, which is the number of options that the customer can choose. I'm interested to know that how they define the borders of their solution space, because it seems a little...
Yeah, it's all trial and error. And this is so good with the ingredients. So mainly it's like 5 base muesli, cereals, and then plenty of nuts and fruits and so on. So what they do of the different techniques, how they define the solution, it's really, they just analyze past configurations. So they do a little bit of market research. But then they're saying, oh, there is a very special Serbian sherry, whatever. Let's say there's a very special Serbian sherry. And someone, they say, okay, let's offer the Serbian sherry for 1 week. And if people react on it, they really put it to this. So it's really, they do it with real live testing. And interestingly, what they also say, and this is why they now offer the standard muesli, they realize for most people, they really start with a pre-configured mix. So most people don't really configure the muesli. They get a standard mix out of like 25 and then only modify one ingredient by adding more raisins less, adding the special Serbian cherry, but that's it.
But no, the question is that I was wondering that where's their stop point in order to not enter the mass confusion part.